The wedding ring hit the marble floor and spun in a slow, silver circle. Everyone in the hotel ballroom went silent. Mara Bennett, the 38-year-old CEO of a billion-dollar medical technology company, stared at it as if it had betrayed her. Then she looked across the room at the only man who hadn't been staring at her. A tired-looking single father in a borrowed black suit. "Mr. Carter," she whispered, barely able to breathe. "I need a fake husband." He finally looked up. His answer stunned her. "No." Mara swallowed. Then he added quietly, "But I might know why you think you do." Daniel Carter had spent the last 6 years learning how to survive without making noise. He worked mornings repairing elevators in downtown buildings, evenings driving for a grocery delivery service, and weekends fixing whatever was broken in the small apartment he shared with his 9-year-old daughter, Lily. His wife, Claire, had died after a sudden illness. Daniel never told people the whole story, not because he was ashamed, because Lily had once asked him, "Daddy, do you think Mom knew she was loved?" Daniel had never found a better answer than yes. That evening, Daniel had been called to repair a malfunctioning elevator at the Belmont Hotel. He expected another ordinary job. Instead, when the elevator doors opened on the executive floor, he saw Mara Bennett standing alone beside a conference room. Her expensive heels were in her hand. Her makeup was slightly smudged, and she was crying. Daniel immediately looked away. "I can come back later." "Don't." Her voice cracked. He stopped. Mara stared through the glass wall at a dozen executives waiting inside. On the table sat a newspaper. The headline was about her company. Her board was preparing to remove her as CEO. The reason wasn't financial failure. It was personal. Mara's late father had left behind a condition in his estate. If she wasn't married before the company's annual shareholder meeting, control of his voting shares would temporarily pass to a family trust. Her cousin, Victor, was already preparing to take over. Mara had spent years proving she could run the company without her father's shadow. Now, the one thing she couldn't control was being used against her. Daniel listened without interrupting. Then Mara said the words that had brought him to that hotel corridor. "I need a fake husband." Daniel stared at her. "You don't even know me. I know you fix things." He almost smiled. "Marriage isn't an elevator." For the first time that night, Mara laughed. It lasted only a second. Then her face fell. "I don't need love," she whispered. "I need someone who won't betray me." Daniel looked at the executives behind the glass, then at the ring on the floor. "No." Mara nodded, embarrassed. "I understand." Daniel picked up his toolbox, then stopped. "My daughter has a school recital Friday." Mara looked confused. "What does that have to do with anything?" "Nothing." He turned toward the elevator. Then he looked back. "But if you're asking someone to pretend to be your husband, you should at least be honest about what you're asking him to pretend." Mara didn't understand. Not yet. 2 days later, Daniel received a phone call. Mara wasn't asking him to marry her anymore. She was asking him to attend one dinner. Her board members would be there. She wanted to see whether he could handle the pressure. Daniel agreed. But he brought Lily. That changed everything. At dinner, Lily accidentally spilled water across the expensive white tablecloth. The room froze. Daniel immediately stood. "I'll clean it." Mara stopped him. "It's just water." Victor smirked. "A little chaotic, isn't it?" Mara's jaw tightened. Daniel noticed. He also noticed something else. Mara wasn't embarrassed by Lily. She was embarrassed by how quickly everyone had judged her. Daniel leaned toward her. "You don't need a husband tonight," Mara whispered. "Then what do I need?" "Someone who reminds you that these people aren't allowed to decide who you are." She stared at him. It was the first time anyone had spoken to her like that in years. The next morning, the fake marriage plan changed. Mara offered Daniel a legal contract, a generous payment, and 3 months of pretending. Daniel refused the money. "I'll do it," he said, "but not because I need your money." "Then why?" He looked at a photograph of Lily on his phone. "Because my daughter once told me Mom would want me to stop being afraid of starting over." Mara said nothing. Neither did Daniel. But something shifted between them. Not romance. Trust. Then came the first real betrayal. Someone leaked photographs of Daniel and Mara together. The internet exploded. People called him a gold digger. They called her desperate. By morning, Daniel's employer had suspended him. Mara offered to fix it. Daniel refused. "You can't buy my life back." She flinched. "I was trying to help." "I know." His voice softened. "That doesn't mean I want you solving every problem for me." Mara looked away. For once, someone wasn't impressed by her power. He was simply asking her to respect him. The night before the shareholder meeting, Daniel discovered something strange. He found an old photograph in Mara's office. It showed Mara at 17, sitting beside her father. On the back was a handwritten sentence. Never let the company become more important than the people inside it. Daniel stared at it. Your father wrote this? Mara nodded. He did. Then why is everyone fighting over control? Her eyes filled with tears. Because I forgot. She finally admitted the truth. She hadn't been fighting Victor because she wanted power. She had been fighting because losing the company felt like losing the last piece of her father. Daniel understood. She wasn't protecting a business. She was protecting a memory. And suddenly, the fake marriage didn't feel like the real problem anymore. At the shareholder meeting, Victor stood before the board. Then he made his final move. He presented evidence suggesting Daniel had been paid to manipulate Mara. The room erupted. Daniel looked at Mara. She looked terrified. For several seconds, neither moved. Then Daniel stepped forward. Yes, he said. Everyone gasped. I was paid. Mara's face fell. But Daniel continued. I was paid to pretend to be her husband. Victor smiled. Daniel looked directly at the board. But nobody paid me to stay when she was falling apart. Silence. I stayed because I saw a woman who had forgotten how to ask for help. He looked at Mara. And she reminded me that I had forgotten how to live after losing my wife. Mara's eyes filled with tears. Daniel placed the fake wedding ring on the table. Our agreement ends today. He walked away. 3 months later, Daniel was repairing an elevator in the same hotel where everything had started. The doors opened. Mara stood there. No designer dress. No security team. No board members. Just Mara. She held something in her hand. Daniel recognized it. The ring. The company is fine, she said. Good. I fired Victor. Daniel smiled slightly. Also good. Mara took a breath. I don't need a fake husband anymore. Daniel nodded. I figured. She looked down at the ring. I was wondering if you'd consider being my real friend. Daniel laughed softly. That's a much harder contract. I know. Then Lily appeared from around the corner, holding a school project. Dad, Ms. Bennett came to see us. Mara smiled. Daniel looked at his daughter. Then at Mara. For the first time in years, he didn't feel like he was betraying the memory of his wife by imagining a future. He felt like he was honoring it. Because sometimes moving forward isn't forgetting the person you lost. Sometimes it's finally believing they would want you to be happy again. And sometimes the person who changes your life isn't the one you were looking for. It's the one who sees the broken pieces and doesn't try to own them. They simply stays long enough to help you put them back together.